Thank you so much for joining us today. With us today is Ed Cook, a client and previous president of ECI. Ed, could you just tell us a little bit about your company and a little bit of the background there?
Sure. I founded ECI Screenprint in 1991. Basically ran one of these stories of starting from nothing kind of thing. Started a little hole in the wall building and built it up over the years. Moved a couple times. I've always specialized in industrial graphics, membrane switches, and printed electronics. That's been my specialty, and over 30 years, developed quite a niche in the industry and a really good name in the industry. In that we were kind of a boutique printer where anything we could print on, we could figure out how to do. So that was kind of our thing. Kind of had a reputation for that when companies would call up with ideas and they were struggling where to go, and that's where we got most of our biggest accomplishments over the years. So
excellent. So congratulations on a great 30-year career. What prompted you to sell?
Well, a number of things, mostly personal lifestyle changes, some health issues in my family with my spouse. And just I have always seen ECI in a bigger vision than where it was. And I said, my current situation, I've always felt that, if you're going to own a business, if you're not trying to, with a real determination to grow it vigorously, that you should get out of the way and do something else, because it doesn't do it by itself. So it started the process of me thinking about what could be next. And I didn't have any family or my children interested in getting into business. So some people are lucky that way, and that wasn't for me. So, when my wife had a health condition, I kind of thought to myself, what if I had that health problem? My kids would have to come in and try to do something. I didn't want that to occur. So kind of the writing was on the wall, and everything was kind of lining up for me to say, okay, let someone else take this team to another level. And that's kind of where the impetus for the sale came from.
And trying to grow. I mean, it's such a driving force for all of us as business owners.
I've always run a really tight business, really profitable, running great, loving it. It's exciting. It's different every day. So, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to be that wind in the sails it needs to thrive. So someone else had to come in and do that. And I think we have a great marriage there.
Good. So what was it like to get it ready to sell? All the prep work to actually be ready to go to market.
Yeah, and it actually wasn't too bad for me. As I said a second ago, I've always run a fairly well-oiled machine. I know where everything is. I know what's here. I know what it's supposed to be, and how it operates. And but it was nice working with Michael and Mark to, kind of flesh out the important items that were important for them to hit the market right. So they helped a lot on the front end of prep, where my machine was running, and it was running every day, even without me here. But they shed light on the things that are important to prep the business for sale, that people are going to be wanting to see, and things like that. So their coaching and tutelage there really was very helpful in prepping. But I didn't really have, honestly, I didn't have a lot of work to do. I didn't have a lot of cobwebs to clean up and things like that. I just run a tight shop and a clean shop, and it shows well, and numbers run well, and things like that. So that was the first thing. And I think for anybody coming, thinking about it, take the time to get that stuff ready, even before you're, it's like turning the Titanic, left around first base. So you got to plan ahead.
Confidentiality is always a key. How did you feel about, sort of working through making sure that employees and staff and competitors, etc., were not apprised of the fact that you were for sale?
Yeah, well, that's where GAA really helped a lot. I had a good relationship with Mark professionally before I was ready, and also with Michael on professional associations. So we already had a mutual professional respect and trust built. And so as I started to ponder the idea and talk about it, everything was done in very respectful ways and very timely. Those types of things were important to me because, when I began the process, it was more of a introduction to the idea of possibilities. It wasn't that. It's not like selling a house. Well, it's for sale. We paint it and it's clean and it's good. Off you go. It's a lot more than that. It's my approach to selling was, let's go see who might be interested and what the right fits could be. That was my whole approach to it, and these guys just fit into that perfectly. So we took a lot of time to logically think it through, create the target listing and things of potential suitors and things like that. So there was a lot of mental working through different things, more so than like running reports and getting things ready like that. It was a lot of that kind of work was the most important, I think.
Trying to find the right fit. For sure.
Yeah, because there was a number of interested parties, and there were some absolute no's, immediates, and these guys knew it. They told me who it was. I'm like, nope, don't even do it. It's not gonna work. So, because I'm pretty well connected in the industry and that kind of thing. So there were certain ones that made really good sense. There were some that made really good sense, but didn't have all of the aspects I was hoping for to protect my team and the careers that they've built here and the tenure and legacy that's here and things like that. So all that was important.
So once you hit the market, what was that like?
A lot of good interest right off the bat, and then there was just everybody hit this big pause button.
Right.
So what are you going to do? So we all kind of just back down the hatches and kind of all I did was focus on my team. And at that point we were all honestly probably the scariest part of my whole career. It was survival mode. Can we stay in business? Can we stay alive? Literally thinking that way. So we put it on pause mode for a couple of months, and then we had some of the purchaser candidates came back out when things started to seem like it came back into order, and there was some more discussions going on. So that was interesting for sure.
It probably added what, 4 or 5 months to the process, you think?
Yeah, pretty easily.
Plus or minus,
yeah, pretty easily. Yeah. There was some more opening talks starting to happen a couple months out, but it was super soft and super slow because everybody was like in this unsure state.
And good news is 2021, you're rocking it. So, that's good for them to purchase you, and good for them to have a great
bad for me, but good for them for sure.
I don't know. Now, come on.
I joke about that even with them a little bit, but you can't look back, right? It's the right time, right thing, right time.
Right time, absolutely. So, why did you choose an advisory firm to get you through this process? Why didn't you just do just go out and market? You knew the people, and
I know a lot of colleagues in the industry. I have for many years. So I already had ideas about who. And honestly, up until a couple of years ago, I always thought I'd be the acquirer. I always thought I'd be going out and grabbing some of these people. Never really came to be for me. I always thought that to me is always like the smart way of growing. I think it's really a smart way to grow if you can do it right with the right team. And so I just feel that to get through the process and complexity of a sale with colleagues that you're friendly with or or I just think having a go-between there is important because it helps all the counterbalances and the counter perspectives as you kind of go through this thing. It's very hard. It's much more complex than anything else you're ever going to do in your life.
It is the biggest deal for most of us, for sure. Selling.
Yeah, I don't even care about money. It's more complex. It has way more layers than anything else you'll ever do. It has, legal layers, environmental layers, people layers, HR layers. I mean, it's just go on and on and on. To do that with a colleague where you're, basically having an agreement and a handshake over the table without somebody buffering and keeping track of that and kind of making sure people are accountable to getting back with their part of it. I just didn't, I've got a nice team that works here, but the team that I have is more into operating the business, and I wouldn't have anybody to lean on to help with that. So, Michael did a great job of kind of keeping everybody accountable. And I think that's what you need. And there were some sticky times where it was super helpful, where, GAA had to be the bad guy a little bit, which is the other thing. Is like, it's good to save face to yourself and, have somebody in there to do the hard stuff, the hard conversations, start the hard conversations a little bit. Sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes it's necessary to get to the finish line, because getting to that finish line is not an easy thing. There's a lot of things that could derail it. So,
any other last things you'd like to comment on, or share with someone who might be watching, just is considering the whole thing of, now it's time to sell, and I don't want to have to do it, but like you, don't have any succession, don't really have a plan, and I need to sell. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've thought about that, and I've kind of put I'm a list guy. I like to make lists. So I would say for people, whether you are that way or not, really sit down and do some reflection lists, and plan the finish before you begin. Think about the actual, pretend, sit down quietly somewhere, go away. I do a lot of my best writing and thinking on long airplane rides, 3-4 hour rides, where nobody could talk, you're just doing stuff. And sit there and really take yourself out of your day-to-day and say, okay, the deal's done. We've already closed. I have XYZ in the bank. What's next? How's that feel? What's it feel like? And then start working backwards. And how do you get there? Because you shouldn't just kind of slog through it. It's too complicated, That's what I would advise. And I'd be happy to. I've always done business development with other entrepreneurs and stuff. I love that stuff. So I'm happy to talk to anybody about that kind of thing. And I know you guys can do that too.
Yeah, thank you so much for participating with us today and joining us on our Target Report interview. If you're watching this and you'd like to hear the rest of the story, we're going to do that in part 2 of the Ed Cook interview. And I encourage you to watch that. Thank you so much for being part of the Target Report interview.